they're going to speak to you about what HR 4812 does. First off, we have Tim Heberlein. He is with Florida Consumer Action Network, which is a consumer-oriented group that's based throughout the state of Florida. Aaron Carmella is Zone Coordinator for the West Central Florida Federation of Labor, and he works with unions in a 12-county jurisdiction. Next up would be Pat Barber. She's President of the Manatee Education Association, representing most of the school board employees here in Manatee County.
Teachers and parents.
Teachers and parents. And then finally, last but not least, Patrick Roth, who is our city councilman here in the city of Bradenton. And actually, I will say that it's really through Patrick's efforts and Paul Thomas, who is from the Asking Local here in the city, who has brought this event together. So with no further ado, Tim, if you'd like to start off this evening.
Absolutely. Hi everyone, again my name is Tim Heberlein, and I am the organizer of the Florida Consumer Action Network. And we represent over 10,000 of our members throughout the state of Florida who are consumers, and we've been around since 1984 working on consumer advocacy. And unfortunately right now that means a lot of our members and non-members who are unemployed. I know statewide it's around, what is it now, 12%? I'm sure this area is pretty high. I'm from Tampa, and you know we're definitely experiencing a lot of the unemployment and the hard-hit areas there. So the question of why everyone came here together, why we wanted to do this is we wanted to answer the question: how can we rebuild our economy in a way that we can be proud of it after this recession is over? And part of that answer is HR 4812, and again the Local Jobs for America Act. What that's doing, what we're aiming to do with this particular piece of legislation is create 1 million jobs, either create or save 1 million jobs through the local and state governments. Now the advantage of this piece of legislation is that the jobs are easily countable. You can say, you know, it's like the recovery.org or recovery.gov, and we can get to that website and see some of the jobs that they actually have a number count of how many jobs were saved through the American Reinvestment Act. And this is similar to that. This is able to get funds out fast to the local communities, local governments and state governments who desperately need this money and who are laying off their employees left and right. And basically those jobs, and Aaron will talk about this later, are also, when you have those people who are still employed, stimulate the economy after that fact, after they've already been paid labor. So the provisions of the Local Jobs for America Act are this: that basically it's $75 billion over the course of 2 years.
city or one of the city groups. Alright. So this should really excite you to start off, because what this does, as you said, and I think it's important to keep saying it, this money is going to come straight to the mayor of your town to make sure these jobs are saved and create new ones that won't get lost in the mud up in Tallahassee to balance the state budget. Is actually going to come to help you out. But what's more important is it's not only just going to help you out, it's going to help out the whole community. And this idea that is called the job multiplier. And this was a kind of an economic principle that was kind of experimented with in 1930 and became really the basis and success of the New Deal. That is, when you create these public works jobs and save these public works jobs, it actually boosts up the community and creates work for other people. And what this is based on the income of a certain job and how much you spend in the community, you can affect anywhere from, what they say is you multiply your job by anywhere from 1.2 to 2. So you have a 20% effect on creating more jobs. So at the lowest end of the spectrum, what you're looking at is every 5 jobs can create another job in the service sector. That goes up to 2 jobs. What we lost over on this in the space program, those scientists, they were saying for each one of them, they were losing up to 2 jobs each. And that can go up here all depending on what your job is and what you're boosted up with. But the important part for this is right now, especially on the Gulf Coast of Florida, is the public sector usually gets the biggest pump up from this job multiplier. And right now with the oil spill, the restaurants and hotel industry and all these service groups are seeing a 40% decline right now on the Gulf Coast from last year. And it's really going to be up to the communities to keep these people in business through this really hard time. And a really important way to do that is with this money coming in, is for these jobs that are created beyond the public sector jobs. This is when you're doing improvements to the schools, improvements to the public buildings, is making sure the work that is brought in stays local. We're not doing anything for the community when you bring in work from Texas or Georgia into Bradenton to do some work, then they leave real quick. And the way to do that is with a local hiring ordinance. And I know that the county commission here has worked on one, and the city council is in progress working with one also. And what that'll do is it'll make sure when this any money coming down from the government working on this stuff, local people get the jobs. And that's really important because when a local person gets paid after their taxes are taken out and after they put their money into savings, 95% of their disposable income is paid within the community. When someone comes from out of the area, after their taxes, after they put in the savings, only 50 to 70% of their disposable income is spent in the community. That's because they have a family, they have a mortgage, they have property, they have investments elsewhere that they need to keep intact while they're away taking jobs from places like Manatee County. And the big problem with that is what I said, these mortgages. When people come here to work, they'll stick 6 or 7 people in an apartment, each paying $100 each.